And of course, as always, we want everybody to know that whatever is discussed on the show is the opinion of our guests and don't necessarily reflect our official policy. Although I do have to say, if we say something, maybe it does reflect something for me and or myself. And so don't. Somebody says something bad or politically incorrect, don't hold us to them in perpetuity. Or if we say something politically incorrect, it's not our fault. To just post a question, and we've got some questions we've written down. But today is an open show and open forum, and we'll just run with it. And of course, thank you for joining us. And today we're going to try and sell you whatever we can sell you. What the heck?
Managed a store, a Kia store actually, and the owner had a philosophy where they pay a flat commission. I think it was like $400 or $500 no matter what the car was sold for. So the negotiation was all up to the sales manager. And what was surprising me when I managed that store was the salesman is still trying to grind me on the price, even though they made the same money no matter what I sold it for. And I said, why are you beating me up, dude? And they said, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm paying you either way. Like, what? In what universe are you trying to make me sell it for less? Like, what does that make sense? It was so ingrained in their head, right? It was like, no, like, it ain't about the price, man. You're getting paid. Don't worry about it. But they were so fixated on the price sold the car. And I think that's something we have to fix in the car business. I mean, it's not like the people at Tesla out of the gate said, well, yeah, we'll blow it out if you buy 5. Like, they're not doing that.
Yeah.
And
it's funny
long term, they might have to. But, what that proves is that you don't have to do that, right?
You don't have to. And I take it back to when I was at Saturn and we were doing everything at level pricing, and nobody on the floor had sold cars before. And so again, there was no negotiation. So that part didn't matter. It was, do you have a blue one or a black one?
Yeah.
But there was nobody that would come in, and they purposely hired people that had never been in the car industry.
Maybe that's the answer. The answer is the old car dogs that are running these stores. Maybe the answer is that they're the past. I mean, I hate to say it because I've been in the industry such a long time, but maybe that's the reality, is that when you look at Tesla, you don't see a lot of old car dogs running those stores.
But the problem now is that training, when you don't have to work, the way we train new people, because let's not kid each other, I'm sure even in Texas, Alberta, Nova Scotia, 30 to 50%, maybe even 70% of salespeople are brand new to the business, no matter where you are. And the problem that we do is when we do in a standard dealership, we train them. Well, here's some product knowledge, but you know what? It really doesn't matter. Here's the process, but bottom line is just go get the up and bring them to me. And that's how they learn. Whereas if you're a Saturn or a Tesla, when somebody says to you, how does the ludicrous mode work? They say to you, well, what they do is it changes the computer algorithms, and they get the answer. And yes, unfortunately, Tesla is owned by Tesla. Every store is owned by Tesla. If they go to the one downtown, the one in the suburbs, they get the same experience, but they have new people just with Saturn. But with everybody else, it's new people, but they screw them and destroy them because they teach them to be a liner and a closer.
Look at it this way. Years ago in the Greater Vancouver market, most of the Mercedes stores were owned by Mercedes Canada, and that's still true in the GTA. Did that change the process for the customer when the manufacturer owned the stores?
Yeah, I don't think it did.
It didn't.
No.
We would have customers, because I set up their call center, where the customer would call and they'd say, oh, where's the best deal on a Mercedes-Benz in Vancouver? And the call agent would go, where are you located? Well, I'm located here. Okay, the closest store is the best deal. They owned all the stores.
Really?
And that they also shared a CRM. And what I discovered, people there, somebody came in and they meet the salesman downtown, and they were in the one, in Richmond, which is a suburb of Vancouver, Stephen. And John, you know where Richmond is. And they'd enter them into the CRM as they're talking to them at their desk, because they did that. Oh, so when you spoke to Joe over in downtown, what happened there? And it actually worked.
Yeah. They were all on 180, so they could all see everything. They could see the deal they built. They could see absolutely everything. Exactly. I mean, that's when I was with Mercedes as well, because they were trying to tell us that was their best practice. And it's like, well, that works if you got all the stores.
But now they sold all 4 stores to one group here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toronto, I think, is the last one left. But the thing that was funny when I worked with that group, because we set up their call center, was the corporate guys went crazy when they'd visit the stores because they'd hired all these retail guys to run the stores, and they didn't agree with the corporate guys. So the corporate guys would come in and go, well, you know, this is important, and the coffee's important, and the Danishes are important, and this and that. And the guy's like, no, what's important is selling cars, dude. Like, that stuff's cool. Like, we got a Taj Mahal, get it, but that doesn't matter. It was interesting because even in a perfect storm where you could have fixed it because you own the locations, you could have docked it. You could have said, listen, this is how we're going to operate. Even then, they couldn't do it.
And frankly, the person that got the deal there at the old Mercedes stores was the person, you know what, we like to say they built the relationship with them, and they certainly did. But it's the one that wrangled the best circumstances for the customer. It wasn't because they did the exact same process, which they didn't, but the benefit they had is they said, why didn't you buy in downtown? Well, they wouldn't give me enough for my car. Car salesman, well, what it would take to earn your business today?
Well, I mean, it was funny, Jeff, we were talking about Highline dealers. Even the Porsche franchises, which I'd argue are probably some of the best experience-based, in theory, franchises and most profitable out there in the market today. Even those franchises have inconsistencies, right? And it's not like it's a cheap franchise to buy, but there's inconsistencies between different locations. Even.
Oh yeah,
pricing.
I think one of the things that goes
and everything is different. Right?
One of the things that goes back to is what Jeff was talking a little bit ago when we were talking about training, and I think John will agree with this, Stephen, I don't know, but is that not only do we say, you know, there's your desk, there's the keys, here's our test driver, good luck with it. We also let the senior guy train the new guy. And that is a catastrophe happening because he's setting that new guy up to help him. And he's telling him how the up system works in his favor. And he's training them all completely backwards. And the dealer's like, did you sit with my senior guy? He sells the most cars. He'll train you on how to do all this. And meanwhile, he's just setting them up for catastrophe. And I think
where's
that's a big
the manager?
Not to mention that the guy's picking up his dry cleaning and his coffee.
Right? Got his Timmy's going on. He's got everything happening.
Oh my gosh. Wow. You know what? We're wondering what the industry needs to do. And we're describing all this stuff. It's phenomenal. And it's no different. I saw Stephen laughing. We hear John's comments. And the Ian and I, and you two gentlemen, well, Barry, you're not that far from here.
And Chrissy.
We couldn't be farther apart.
Well, we got North America covered technically.
Where's Chrissy based?
Chrissy's in Kamloops.
Okay.
There you go. Now, if I could throw something in, you know, we're talking about customer experience, and I think that's great because the customers deserve a great experience. But until we really focus on some culture change in the employee experience, I'm not sure we'll ever get to the customer experience that we really want to get to.
We won't, John. And the struggle we have is, you know, especially, and I'm reflecting from a GM position, is the guy at the top usually it doesn't have the appetite that really to change it. That's not how he did it. That's not how he got successful. That's not how this happened. That's not how that happened. When I was on the floor, this is what we did. And we did this, and we did that, and all this other garbage. Meanwhile, it was 80 years ago or whatever it was, back to your Smithsonian. And, you know, but at the point, somebody has to say, no, we need to blow this up, change it. And one of the most successful stores I was at was owned by a dentist. And his perception of how customer service looked from the service perspective, everything was, it was a dental office. The recall was there, the confirmations were there. He'd been doing it for 20 some odd years. So he was blowing everybody away. It just this amazing customer service. And, you know, we had everything. We had a concierge phone service for after hours and to dispatch, they had the authorization to dispatch a tow truck or a taxi, and we would pay for it. But he knew that car was on our lot now. And so it wasn't going to the closest Honda store. It was going to our store. Even if we had to pay for a taxi cab and a tow truck, we didn't care. We were going to get that car in our possession, get it to our body shop, do whatever.